What is up, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of the United States Department of Nerds. And today, I have Dan Crothers with me from VeVe Collectibles, and we're going to be talking everything you need to know about their new Star Wars NFTs. But first, we have to hit that beautiful theme music.
You are listening to the USDN on the DFPN.
It's a trap!
All right, what is up, everybody? Let's give a big United States Department of Nerds welcome to Dan from VeVe Collectibles. Like I said, Dan, how are you doing today?
Very good. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks so much for having me on.
Now, tell everybody where you're at right now. This is really
right
cool.
now, it's actually Friday in New Zealand. So I know it's Thursday for you. So I can tell you that, the world doesn't end in the future.
I love it. I love it. Good news travels.
Yes.
So you are the furthest interview I've ever done now. So congratulations to that.
Thank you. I don't think there's anybody further other than Antarctica.
Hey, maybe someday.
Maybe.
I can hope. If anybody's in Antarctica and watching this, hit me up. Let's talk. But let's dive into it. So this year, you released your Star Wars NFTs on VeVe Collectibles. Now, is this the first time y'all done Star Wars collectibles, or have you done them before in the past? Because I think you've been around since 2018.
Yeah, that's correct. We've actually been very fortunate enough to be working with Lucasfilm and the team over at Star Wars for many years. So I think this is our third Star Wars May the 4th month.
Okay.
So we've offered a lot of really cool collectibles to Star Wars fans over the years.
So I wasn't very familiar with NFTs until I was hit up by your guys. So I definitely dove into it just to learn what I could about it. And then I was like, you know what? I can't really do this properly without myself going and downloading the app and having a look at it myself. And it's really dope. It is one of the coolest things ever. The blown apart Star Wars helmet.
Yes.
So cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, I love that one too. Yeah, we put a lot of time and effort into that. Our creative director really went in. I mean, even I think you can lay that helmet over the blueprints and it's an identical replica.
Yeah. So that was because I love the fact that you can it looks like it's full, like it's a full helmet, and then you touch it and then it floats itself apart and you can see all the different working pieces of the helmet. It's really cool because you never really see that unless you buy the actual helmet. And even that's just a toy helmet. It doesn't have all the mechanisms in it like you see in the blowout on your collectible.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we were very excited to do it, because I think, as far as I'm aware, I mean, certainly digitally, this is one of the first helmets where the interior has been done to such detail. It's always been a mystery what is inside.
Yes.
What is inside these helmets?
Yes.
It was a really, really cool opportunity for us to, like even creating the helmets. Like in my virtual showrooms, I've got all the helmets set up, but it's great to be able to see inside one and have that detail.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna BS anybody. It is extremely detailed, like the foam pads, the microphone, the way the eyes
Mm,
look, and it explains why the stormtroopers are never able to hit anything if that's how the eyes really look.
that's a very good point.
So, what was it like for y'all's team working with Lucasfilm and Disney to bring these things to life? How was that
Really good.
process?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really, yeah, like I always give kudos to Disney and Lucas. Like these Star Wars collectibles that we generate, they might take 9 to 12 months to create.
Oh,
There's a
wow.
lot of, like, we go through a lot of process with them to make sure everything is accurate. And from their side, they are really the brand warriors. They make sure
Mhm.
that everything is looking perfect, it's authentic in the
Yeah.
way that fans would want it to be. So yeah, and then over that 9 month period, that's when we're creating the 3D, start creating the 3D objects themselves, and then that goes through multiple different rounds of approvals. I mean, luckily we've been working with Disney for a very long time now, and Lucasfilm, so the approvals go through pretty quick.
Okay.
Internally we are all definitely Star Wars nerds, so we've got a pretty good basis to come from.
That's awesome, man. That it y'all have that type of working relationship with Disney and Lucas because
Mm,
there's not a lot of companies that get that inside with them to create collectibles. I mean, there's Hasbro and I can't remember who does the Black Series figures, if that's Hasbro or not. So there's
mm.
very companies out there that do get any type of license from them to do anything like this. So it's really cool that y'all kind of have that inside, like, hey guys, we're thinking about this, and they're like, yeah, send us the rendering, and they do their thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And the great thing about digital as well is that we can do so much more. We can put all of
Mhm.
those fine little intricate details in there.
Yeah,
Whereas, if you were to produce that as a product, there's a lot more limitations on
mhm.
cost and all of that kind of thing. So it really allows us to kind of take it to the next level. And the fact that it's 3D, you can view it in 3D, you can view it in augmented reality.
Yeah.
It allows a different type of collecting experience.
That's one of the really cool parts I thought too is being able to switch it over to the augmented reality, and it's just sitting there in your room with
Mm,
you,
mm,
and you could see it. That's, to me, is really cool. I never thought of NFTs as something that you could do that with, and that's something that was new to me when I was going through all this and preparing for this and to talk to you. Is
mm.
I wanted to really like immerse it in, spend a little money, see what it was all about, and I think it's really dope. I didn't honestly think I would like, oh, this is kind of cool, but no, it's it's really freaking cool to be able to see these things with your eyes floating in your room.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's when David, my co-founder, and I started the business, but because we're both big collectors, as you can see from
Yeah.
behind. My business partner, he's a level 9,000 collector. For those out there who get the Dragon Ball reference, what we really wanted to do was bring physical collecting into the digital space. We started this before the word NFT even existed. So from our perspective, we're a collectibles business, but we're just in the digital medium. And to your point, when a lot of people hear NFTs, they think just like a little JPEG image or something like
Yep.
that. But because we wanted to replicate as close as we can that collecting experience that fans know and love in the physical world, making all the models in beautiful, detailed 3D, having the augmented reality so you could actually have it in there in your home, in your space, and then the virtual showrooms as well.
I'm loading it up on my phone just so I can kind of show it, and to see how it really looks. If that's okay
Mhm.
with you, am I allowed to do
Yes.
that? I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Let's see if they can see that. But that is what it looks like. And then you just touch it and it opens up and you get that full 3D rendering of the inside of the helmet.
Mm.
And that is cool. And you can also do the AR version, which you won't be able to see the AR. So I'm not going to do that, but it's really cool. And I was one of those guys who was like, I don't know about this, but I'm sold on it. I think it's one of the coolest things. And y'all don't just do helmets. You have a whole lineup of Star Wars currently going on.
Correct.
And not just collectibles, you also are doing comic books as well.
That's correct, yes.
Which that's cool in and of itself.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, we're massive nerds. Getting to do collectibles and comics from all of these famous IPs that people love. It has been really, really exciting.
Yeah. So y'all have, just real quick, Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
I know you have stuff with Lamborghini.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen James Bond. I have a whole list that I made. DC.
Yep.
Disney. Coca-Cola.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm only scratching the surface of what it is that y'all actually have in y'all's store. But that's some of the bigger ones that I laid eyes on. And of course, for me, Star Wars is life when it comes to collecting. That's what I collect personally. Yeah. I was collecting other things, but as I got older, I'm like, I'm a Star Wars guy. So
you got to refine your collecting experience.
You really do. You start narrowing it down. Now, comic books is another story. I'm kind of very eclectic when it comes to that, but Star Wars primarily has been my big focus. You see the Pokeball, that's for my daughter. She's a big Pokemon person. Have y'all tried to reach out to other like franchises like that to try to get them to buy in with y'all, or?
Yeah, I mean, so since 2017 when David and I first started, and I think we've got over 200 IPs on the platform at the moment, like the ones you mentioned, plus a whole lot more. And we have been in conversations with many other IPs and license holders. Because it's still quite a new space, this sort of digital thing, and then the NFT went through the classic technology hype cycle where everybody was into it and then nobody was into it. But in the end, it's another type of technology, another way that people can collect. And so, we're always signing up new licenses, every year to bring onto the platform. Because ultimately, we want to have, we want it to be the place where people can collect whatever you like. And the reality is, like, if you like Star Wars, you may like Star Trek, you may like Marvel, there's a lot of different sort of crossover brands that people collect.
Mm-hmm. So when y'all brought over, what was the initial goals when you brought Star Wars into VeVe? Like, how did the initial, like, your followers and your users, platform users, take to that? How did they gravitate toward it when they were like, were they like, I imagine it would have been a massive excitement when y'all first announced Star Wars was coming to VeVe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were very lucky enough to, start our journey on the Disney side with Marvel. And then that went really, really well. And then from there, we were able to start introducing some of the other Disney IPs like Star Wars. And of course, if you have a collecting platform, you have to have Star Wars.
Absolutely.
So it's been really, I mean, we've done everything from Jabba, Luke, Darth Vader, all the Stormtroopers, lots of vehicles, the X-Wing, R2-D2. Yeah, there's lots of Star Wars collectibles on the platform already. And the cool thing is that you were talking about the AR before, but in the virtual showrooms, you can actually place all of these 3D collectibles. You can set up your own dioramas. Me as a collector, I find it really, really fun. And, I hope that other collectors, will find that same sort of view as we, as digital collecting becomes more popular in the globe.
Okay. You kind of answered the next question I had for you. Is kind of like, how do y'all decide which one of these Star Wars characters y'all want to bring in next? Because, I mean, for me, I love the droids. Droids have always been like top tier for me, like K2SO and Andor. And, how do y'all decide? Because there's literally hundreds of characters for y'all to kind of like, okay, how do we scale this to bring, what are we going to bring in next?
So yeah, I mean, it can be at times quite collaborative with Lucasfilm.
Okay.
You know, they will suggest some collectibles that they may want to bring in, because, you know, it might align with like maybe a movie coming out, or like release of Andor or something like that. But outside of that, you know, really for us, it's about just making sure that we are selecting the characters that are the most popular in the Star Wars fandom. We actually have to be quite careful, because, you know, like, there's stuff that I love, there's stuff that the creative director loves. We've got to remember it's not just for us. We've got to make sure it's sort of for everybody. So, you know, that would
probably be my problem. Is I'm like, oh, but I love this character so much. I'm that one guy that really likes that one droid out of everybody, you know. So I'm like, yeah, you know, I don't know how well this is going to do, because that was kind of it was my my novelty thing.
Yeah.
And
then basically, yeah, we just sort of started off with all of the main characters, and then as we go, you know, further into the franchise, we start to get to do things like, you know, all these different stormtroopers and all these different helmets and cool things like, you know, the interior of the helmet. So yeah, it's a really fun process. We basically put together a slate for a year. We submit that through, and then we have, you know, a bit of a dialogue back and forth. And then we basically just get straight into production after that.
So could we possibly see the Clone Wars trooper helmets in the future? Because that's a huge one for me. I love the different, you know, Stormtrooper or the Clone Wars helmets.
Yeah, they are. That's the thing with the Star Wars franchise. Like, there is so much stuff out there. But yeah, I'm a massive fan of Clone Wars as well. So I would absolutely love that to come to the platform.
Okay. No, that was my novelty question I had. I was like, yeah, maybe I can get some Clone Wars, some 330 seconds or some Wolf Pack, you know?
Yeah. Well, you and me, I'll go and put the case forward.
Hey, yeah, I would appreciate it. I'd be all over that one. So how do y'all decide, or I don't know if it's y'all who decides, or if it's kind of like a team thing where y'all decide this, but how do y'all decide the rarity tiers of different NFTs? Like, you're only going to produce so many of these, or these, or these, or since it's a really popular, you know, platform like Star Wars, are you going to produce more of these? Or
yeah. I mean, in the beginning, when it was really just, you know, me and David and a few other people running the business, like, we would actually go through it, you know, ourselves, and we would say, well, this is the most popular character. So for example, if we were going to do a blind box drop, we'd be like, this one is the most popular character. That's what everybody probably wants. So we would make that a common, and that would have higher editions. Okay. And then as we go down further down the rarities, because there's 5 different rarities from common through to secret rare, we just start to decide, well, you know, this particular character may not be that well known, or maybe not necessarily as popular as the other ones. So we would generally make that a secret rare. But nowadays, we actually have, you know, we have a lot of data. We have data from like 6 or 7 years. And so we actually run it through like a process or an algorithm now that will spit out what it thinks based on historical sales, and kind of go from there.
No, that makes sense. I mean, because there's plenty of stuff out there where you can, even like the Hasbro sells, y'all could probably look at to determine, you know, how each character did and base stuff off of that as well.
Exactly.
I don't know if that's how y'all do it, but I mean, that makes a lot of sense. No.
Sometimes there are some arguments internally. I think this should be a secret rare. That should be a rare.
That's when your personal preference does come in. You're like, you know, yes, but I imagine those decisions are some of the hardest that get made when it comes to selecting what is what.
Yeah.
So how have y'all been, like, you balance the different trilogies within this? I know that's, you know, people have their takes on which trilogy is their favorite, but how do y'all kind of, like, you know, balance that amongst the fan base?
Yeah. I mean, you know, for us, like, when we roll out a new franchise like this, I generally like to start from the beginning.
Okay.
And that's why it was like 4, 5, 6. That's basically where we started off with all of the key characters. And then now we're starting to, as we have already dropped those characters, we're now starting to get into the other movies. Like this month we dropped the pod races.
I seen that. Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah.
And it's just because pod races as collectibles, they look cool as like we've all got our thoughts on the movie, and some people love it, some people hate it. But
I'm a fan of it, so
I'm with you, man. I'm a fan of it as well.
It gave us Darth Maul. I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just cool being able to do the pod races. They look so amazing in AR, especially when you blow them up to like 1-to-1 size, and you can drop it in your driveway or put it on the street. And they're just as a collectible, they're really cool looking, they're very well known throughout the Star Wars community.
I like it. So where are y'all at now, kind of like in your cycle of the franchise? Like, are y'all like at that 1, 2, and 3, or phase of it, or?
We do bounce around a little bit now. We've got a whole lot of other new stuff coming up on the slate for next year, and we've got some stuff that's a little bit left field as well, which I'm really excited to.
I always like the left field stuff. Can you talk about it, or you got to
I can't talk about it too much, but it's a different, unique take on on some of the characters. So, but they look really, really cool. So we'll make sure the team reaches out to you and lets you know when those are dropping.
Perfect.
Just some of the other movies. I mean, going through each of the movies that we haven't tackled yet, or choosing key scenes from those movies.
Okay.
Where people can build up a diorama. They can, because like when I was growing up, I would play. Me and my brother would play with He-Man. And and back then you'd have the play set. You'd get Castle.
The big castle, yeah.
I loved that thing. And then you could buy all the accessories and buy all the characters. So because we have the virtual showrooms and the VeVe's, we're now starting to roll out these sort of diorama based drops.
I've seen some of those. I've seen the Mos Eisley was really cool in there. Yeah, I've seen the pod raisin dots. I was like, come on. I'm like,
exactly.
That's really cool. And there was other little towns too, I think, in there. I can't remember all of them.
Yeah. When we've done the Luke's home when he was younger, Sandcrawler, all of those kind of things. So it's really cool to be able to get all of these elements from a play set and then essentially build them all up, customize them in the way that you want. Some of them have animation, some will trigger certain things when other things
really cool.
are in the scene. So it's just like a sort of a dynamic digital play set.
No, that's really cool, and I don't think people have really looked at it that way. That you can do, like, it's more than just like, I have this thing and a digital thing on here, but no, you can actually take yours, build up a whole diorama, and it will actually interact with each other. That's something totally new and totally different that I don't think people have really thought about, that is capable of doing that. So that's something y'all brought something new to this game, so to speak, of the NFT market.
Yeah,
because I'm not sure if anybody else is doing it outside of y'all.
No, not as far as I'm aware. And that's because it is very challenging, even to create the 3D collectibles alone. I mean, we go through really the same process that if you buy like a Boba Fett physical statue, we go through exactly the same process. It's all built in 3D, approved, everything, except ours goes into a digital platform instead of being shipped off to, be turned into a physical item.
And so, if we're talking big bad toy store, a Boba Fett figure is going to cost you a couple of $100.
That's right.
Versus how much is it in your world in VeVe?
Yeah, depends on the character, but generally it's cheaper. I mean, characters can range from sort of $20 to $80, it all depends how much animation they come with, because sometimes we'll have like full animation cycles. Some of them, like even with Darth Vader, his lightsaber comes out, glows, sound, everything.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So it's collecting in the digital medium is actually very exciting because you can add all of that extra stuff
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, that it adds a whole new element to it. Now, when y'all brought Star Wars on board 3 years ago, how did the audience take it? Because Star Wars fandom is on another level of fandom. So what kind of reactions did y'all get from the fandom when y'all brought Star Wars into it?
Yeah, overall very positive. I mean, pretty much all of the Star Wars drops were like immediate sellouts. You know,
Okay.
we're talking like seconds, and you know, the editions would have been like 20 to 30,000 editions. So it was very, very well received, and
Okay.
one of the sort of the reasons that I'm really happy and excited to talk to somebody like yourself is like I think it's really cool, and I think if you're a Star Wars fan, you've got the movies, you've got the duvet, you've got the underwear, the cup, the poster, the physical, and now we can add digital to that. So
it's definitely a huge new element to the game of collecting, especially for Star Wars fans. Because, like I said, we're a finicky bunch of fans. We're prickly, and if we don't like something, they're gonna freaking tell you. So the fact that y'all got a lot of great positive feedback it says a lot about the platform and what y'all are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're fans as well, so we wouldn't want to produce something that wouldn't be fan oriented. But in saying that, like you say, everybody has their own different opinions on this and that. So some people like it, some people don't.
So I know y'all are leveraging AR, but what else can we expect from y'all in the future when it comes to y'all's platform, especially like the metaverse type of stuff? Like, I'm sure y'all are working on like the next big thing within your VeVe'verse, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, like I mentioned earlier, when we first started, we wanted to try to replicate that experience that we have in the physical world as collectors. So, we started off with a virtual showroom, which was just a very, very basic room. As collectors, you showed me your shelves before. Like, it's fun. It's fun to be able to go and set up all your collectibles and be able to look at them. So we started off with a virtual showroom, which was very, very simple. And then we evolved that into what is now our VeVe'verse. And the VeVe'verse is very similar in the sense that it's your own virtual space. You can choose from different templates, whether like a nice modern house or a whatever, or you can build your own from scratch. And it just really allows you to go in there and fully customize your own virtual showroom. I mean, like, I would have these shelves behind me everywhere in the house if I could, but I have to respect my wife's the fact that my wife lives there as well, and she may not want that. Yep, all the other residents.
Yeah.
So it's it gives you the freedom to be able to just create all of the best showroom you ever had, or not even a showroom, like a house. And then in addition to that, the VeVe'verse is fully collaborative. So I can invite you in, we can invite all our friends in. Cool. You can help me get set up, and there's a lot of community aspect to it as well. So we will eventually be bringing out branded showrooms and virtual spaces as well. So it's going to be quite exciting.
That's really cool. No, I like that. And as I was looking through the app, I've seen some of those features that you were talking about, and I'm looking forward to actually getting to sit down and really look at it, because I was at lunch when I was doing it earlier, and I'm like, all right, run home, eat lunch, take care of the animals, rush back to work. And I'm like, okay, I got like 10 minutes. Let me hop on and have a look around, and got my Stormtrooper helmet that I have, because that to me is still, that's so cool.
Yeah. Well, be careful. It can be quite addictive.
Oh no, I got all these to deal with. So I have to budget wisely.
Yes. Yeah. Well, the cool thing is
that goes for everybody out there. Budget wisely.
Yeah. make good decisions. Yeah. Well, and the other cool thing in the app is, obviously you've got your store where you can go and buy everything. You've got your collection where you can view them all in 3D and AR. And then there's also the secondary marketplace as well, where
Yeah, I've seen that where people could like resell or trade. It was trading an option. I couldn't remember. I know it was like a resale thing.
Just resell at this stage.
Okay.
Trade will be on the roadmap.
Okay.
But yeah, it's good because sometimes, like in a blind box, you might get two of the same thing, and then when you're trying to get all of them, so you might just go and sell one of them on the secondary market. So yeah, it's a nice, well-rounded ecosystem.
No, that's really cool. Do y'all have Star Wars themed like spaces planned for the future? Like I know you can go in, you can build like them Mos Eisley, you can build the pod racing scenes. Do y'all have something like planned for the future where it's like your virtual space could be like Star Wars, like Vader's meditation chamber or something like that? Could you see that possibly come into the platform?
Yeah, that's where I'd love to head with it, with these sort of branded spaces or themed spaces, or even if it was like a Star Wars themed showroom, where it just like let's say your room behind you was all very Star Wars-esque, like that. That's where I would like to take it.
It'd be really dope. Did you watch Rebels?
Yes.
Thrawn's office.
That would be cool. Yeah.
How he had his collectibles around.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good one, actually. Yeah. Let me raise that to the powers who be.
Hey, I'm full of ideas. Come on. I can toss those out all day. That to me, like I loved his office and the way it looked, the way he had the different historical pieces from the different civilizations that he had basically conquered throughout his life.
Yeah.
Because that's what it was. They didn't say it that way, but that's what it was.
Yeah. No, that's a great idea.
All right. I love this. This is a fun interview. Thank you for hitting me up and asking to come out and talk about this. It's not often that I get to talk about this kind of stuff during the month of Star Wars. I'm still working on my big Star Wars show, which I'm probably going to end up doing in June because we're already at the end of May, because May went by so fast.
It's gone in a blink.
We're almost into June. We're almost done with the year. And it's
crazy.
The last 2 years have been that way. It's just my daughter graduated high school, just finished her freshman year of college, and it's like, wait.
Yeah.
Time out. But so let's ask this. What can they look forward to next in the Star Wars lineup? I think we discussed it a little bit earlier. I know Mandalorian and Grogu is getting ready to hit the big screen within the next year.
Yep.
So I imagine y'all have something spectacularly huge planned for that.
Well, I can't say exactly what we have planned, but what I will say is that we have a lot more iconic characters, some of the iconic vehicles, and these are like, over the years we've managed to really improve the quality of our collectibles, and some of the new vehicles and environments and dioramas that are coming out, they are just so realistically detailed. I mean, even similar to the Stormtrooper helmet, where you get to see the inside, like some of the vehicles and other items we have coming out.
Oh, nice!
Like you get to see everything. I mean, like we had to dive deep with Lucasfilm to be like, what does it actually look like on the inside of this? Because you wouldn't see it in the movie or in a physical toy. So they are going to be very, very detailed. I wish I could tell you actually what we have coming, but my hands are tied.
Razor crest.
I could maybe tell you offline.
Okay. Sounds good. But no, I'm a big fan of the Razor Crest. To me, that was one of the coolest ships they ever had. I have it in Lego, still in the box, because once I realized that they're made of plastic and my cats like to rub their faces on the edges of Legos and shoot themselves with the missiles, I was like, okay, maybe it's a bad idea to actually display the Legos. So they're all mostly in boxes now because of
them. Yeah, but I agree. The Razor Crest is amazing.
Yeah, that's and when I heard they were bringing it back for the movie or a Razor Crest, I was like, yes, you got to do that.
They know what the fans love.
Oh yeah. They listen. They read all the backlash. They trust me. There's a guy out there reading articles for them and passing them the info. Whole rooms of people doing it for them. So what was the inspiration to bring the helmets to Star Wars Celebration this year for y'all versus a different year? Like what was the big let's do the helmets?
Yeah, this year round was just we really wanted to focus on the Stormtroopers because we did do the Stormtroopers. I think it was last year.
Okay.
They're beautifully detailed. They're animated. You know, you can tap them and they fire the blaster. And what we did is we released, I think, like 20 or 25,000 of them, and then we sold them really cheap, like $10, because nobody wants just one Stormtrooper.
No, you want to build a whole army.
Yeah, and so that was cool. So you know, a lot of our fans started, you know, in the virtual spaces and in AR started building up these sort of armies of Stormtroopers, and then we were like, well, you know, there's a lot of other Stormtroopers out there as well. So we really wanted to continue to expand on that on that Stormtrooper army, so you could have all these different types in your army rather than just, you know, your classic Stormtrooper. And then outside of that, you know, just the helmets just look so cool, and
they really are.
Even for me, you know, having a helmet displayed like on the shelf, like they look just so cool. And so we took the helmets off the models, gave them a little bit more detail because they just stand alone. And then so that way now I can have all my Stormtroopers lined up if I want to do like an army. But then in my virtual showroom, I can just have all my, you know, I think in my one now I've got them all stacked in like a vertical.
That'd be really cool. Yeah. So with that, we got helmets. Do you plan to blow that apart further and do like the different armors, the blasters, the cauldrons and stuff like that? Or are y'all going to keep it simple with like, we gave you the helmets? Because it'd be kind of cool if when you walked into your showroom, you had the whole trooper armor and blasters just like on display without the actual clone or the Stormtrooper in it, just the armor itself. Like,
it's the armor.
Look at my armor.
Yeah, no, that's you're very smart. That's a great way to again celebrate just all of the different components, even if it's just a utility belt or the, you know, having the blaster just, you know, on a nice slab, or having the front armor plate like that's, and then you can just have it set up all over your wall.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be really cool. Have y'all done the I didn't see when I was looking around, and like I said, I didn't get a lot of time, but do y'all have the lightsabers like that yet?
Yep, we have. We've dropped the majority of the lightsabers.
Okay.
And then you can obviously, like, and what a lot of people have done in their virtual showrooms is, they just line them all up. Like you can't see it here, but my Star Wars wall is above me here, and I've got all my lightsabers lined up across it. So yes, you can do the same thing in the VeVe's or in the virtual showrooms as well. And, you know, they're all really interactive. Cool. So, you know, when you tap them, the saber comes out, beautiful sound, everything.
That's really cool. That's really cool. I think I know what I have to go in and grab myself next.
Yeah. Of course, when I went to Disneyland last, you know, I had to go to the Star Wars, and I ended up just bringing back so many lightsabers from there. They're so cool.
They really are. Did you do the Build-A-Saber, or did you just get the regular ones?
Yeah, I did the Builder one. That was just a whole experience. It's just
they really make it immersive and really just you're in there and you're doing it. So even right down to the Kyber crystal.
Exactly. Yeah, that was so cool. Yeah, being able to choose it.
So how did y'all decide this year which helmets you were going to pick versus like, you know, just grabbing a random helmets, or like what made y'all go with the ones y'all went with this year? Because I think you got what? Imperial, a clone, I can't remember the other one y'all had in there.
Yep. Is it the carbon one?
Yep, the carbon.
Yep. Yeah, and then there's like the Death Troopers.
Yep,
So
Death Trooper.
yes,
Yep.
yes. So a lot of these were because we were expanding our Stormtrooper collectible range. Really, any helmet that we had that on the Stormtrooper collectibles, we basically took off and used that. So the decision started more from the Stormtroopers, like which Stormtroopers we wanted to drop, and then from there we selected the helmets. And then we did another another helmet range, which I thought was really clever for the team to come up with, because we dropped the lightsabers last year, or maybe a couple of years ago. We came up with this really cool idea, because in the VeVe app we have a thing called crafting, which is that if you have one collectible and another collectible, you can use those to craft either something brand new or combine
That's
them.
really cool.
Yeah. So if you own the let's say the carbon helmet, and you also own a certain lightsaber, you can craft a new helmet that basically has the helmet with the lightsaber sticking through it, or with a huge lightsaber cut.
Yeah.
So
that's really cool that it's actually no shit. It's interactive.
Yeah, but it's another. It gives it just that digital gives another layer to collecting. You know, where you can take those two things and produce something out.
Now, can you pull them back apart and just have the two, or can, like, once you combine them, they're combined?
Well, there's two different ways you can do it. So one is that you have collectible A and collectible B, and then that will produce something new, which is collectible C, or it will basically what we call burn or destroy the original collectible A and B, and then have C. In that scenario, it's generally would be quite a rare or special, because you're having to sort of sacrifice through other collectibles.
Gotcha.
All right, yeah. So there's a lot of different ways we can do with the crafting.
So there's some levels to it, and that's really cool that you don't get that with a lot of things in just period. You can't. It's hard to take A and B and get C. You know, but within this, you can easily do it.
Yeah.
And there's also, you know, it's like, are you going to be able to pull them back apart or not? That's so, I mean, there's some risk, but there's also that risk is also really, it's fun though. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and it might be like, you know, if you have to burn or destroy the two other collectibles, you know, maybe the one you're creating is there's only 200 editions of it or something, you know, so you're prepared to make that sacrifice.
Exactly. That's really cool. So with the technical challenges in creating these 3D models, like, I know you said it takes 9 months to create one.
Yeah. Typically, yeah.
How's that fear into that? You know, when you go, people are going to look at these and they're going to scrutinize every little detail if it's not correct. How does like I'm pretty sure you have levels of QA as it goes, quality assurance.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, to be honest, like our creative director is, you know, he is always about the nuances. You know, like I say, you know, because he's showing me, like, he's like, Dan, this Stormtrooper helmet is so accurate, and then he'll overlay the helmet over the blueprint. You know, so he is always, you know, making sure we're really pushing for that authenticity and that quality. And obviously, you know, we're collectors as well. You know, like what we produce, we want it to look amazing. And you know, I don't want it to look like it's from wish.com or something like that, you know, but because we're fans, we're fans of the IP, and you know, because it is that digital nature, that 3D model, we can get down into lots of the little details. Like some of the collectibles that we do, like a Marvel one, for example, might have a tiny little detail in it that'll be from a very specific comic in a very specific scene. So there's a lot of sort of depth and provenance in the collectibles that we create.
But that's really cool that you can bring in those elements, and the fans are going to know what that is. Your diehards that are collecting your collectibles, they know what that references to, and that's really cool. That because that was one of the George Lucas's biggest thing is details matter within Star Wars. Even when you watch like the new Andor, you see slight details of things in the background. It's not just there, but to be there. it's there for a reason, and it's going to affect something later. And I've always thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
that y'all get down into those types of details and give it the same love that George and Dave and all those guys at Lucas would be giving it. So
absolutely, yeah. Don't give me any spoils about Andor. I'm only halfway through the second season.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I've been so
far. It's cool
that I have not been able to dig into it yet. So this weekend, I'm digging into that. I need to still watch the new animated series as well. And that's the reason why I have like half a show written on my big Star Wars celebration show I do every year, but I haven't finished it because I haven't finished watching it yet. I'm bad. I gotta step my game up and sit down and just dig into it. But there's been a lot of good wrestling on lately, so that's really been eating a lot of time too.
Right.
So with the do all your collectibles within the VeVe'verse, are they all AR compatible, like all of them, or
everything? So that's like in the very beginning, we made that decision to make the collectibles 3D because there's so much stuff we can do with them. And as a collector myself, doing just a 2D image, like what a typical NFT would be, that's why we really refer to ourselves more as digital collectibles, because they are, even though NFT is one of the technologies that we have, so we can only create a certain amount of them. But on top of that is obviously, all of the Unity 3D side, the 3D assets, all the interactivity. So we wanted to make sure that it was always going to be 3D, because it's like and this is something that you'll be able to see myself and David talk about like 4 or 5 years ago, that the future is going to be augmented reality. We're all going to have augmented reality devices eventually. And then in that augmented world, what are you going to see? You're going to see virtual objects and virtual items. So I really believe that in the future, I'll be walking around my house, hopefully with glasses in the beginning, and then maybe an AR contact, and I'll be able to have all my virtual digital collectibles everywhere around. So that'd be
really cool. And we're starting to see that with like the Meta glasses and the ones from Oakley, and we're starting to see those things now be a presence. So I don't know how much y'all deal with VR now. If somebody has a VR headset, can they still, view their VV collectibles in the VR headset?
They can, absolutely. It's through if you download the VeVe'verse app, you can plug that in with your I believe it's with the Oculus.
Okay.
And it's the experience is amazing. I mean, like, I don't know if you've tried.
That's cool. Another level. That's another level. Yeah.
And the immersion is insane. When you put those goggles on, it's so cool. So so these virtual worlds, AR, like with these digital collectibles, that's really where we see the future going.
No, it's definitely really cool. To be fair, it saves you space.
Well, that's the thing. And nowadays, houses are getting smaller. We've got more and more stuff, and we just can't. You actually can't just keep producing all of this sort of physical item. Whereas you could have a 5-story virtual showroom in the VeVe'verse, one level for Star Wars, one level for Marvel, and your collectibles can be 1-to-1, or they could be 18-inch or 12-inch.
That's really cool.
So it's really cool. It's really exciting.
So I lost my place on my cheat sheet over here. So compared to previous years, is your Star Wars side of the house still like? I know y'all were growing it and it's expanding each year, but from a dollars and cents perspective, are y'all still getting the same sales as y'all have like in previous years, or has it slowed down?
Yeah, I mean, I guess with any new technology, like NFTs went through that hype cycle where everyone, my mum, my dog, my grandma, everyone knew about NFTs. So everyone was on that kind of hype cycle. But now, this industry, we really are still building up. But I mean, we still sold. We've done very well this month with the Star Wars drops. I think they're like 80% sold out.
That's the month of May right there, summed up.
No, exactly. Yeah. And that's really good, considering that, there's a lot of other Star Wars product out there that, anybody who releases collectibles has to kind of compete with each other. So yeah, given that it's sold really well.
But y'all really are only just competing against yourself in the digital world when it comes to Star Wars.
Well, I mean, I would say that is true, yes, but really we're selling to collectors, and collectors will love the physical, they'll love the movie, the re-release movie. Now they can get the digital, so it's still that collecting dollar overall. But yeah, we just our vision is that this digital is another new exciting way for people to collect, and as you've seen, the 3D models are beautiful. You can put them in augmented reality. We've now got
that's really cool.
And the cool thing is that you've got your collection with you all the time. Like you're at some Star Wars con event, you can drop your Stormtrooper army in AR. So it's cool to be able to have those collectibles with you all the time.
We got a comment here. See, they're starting to think we need a more analog future. Nah, I don't really. Short of a near apocalyptic event, I don't see us going back to a analog type of environment, not with tech growing and moving faster now than it ever has before. So, but
in saying that,
I get where they're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I still love my physical collectibles. I love my digital collectibles. I think people are always going to have a preference.
The smell of a comic book, to me, there's nothing that beats it, or the smell of a new book. Nothing will ever beat that to me. That to me, although I do read a lot of my Marvel stuff electronically on their app.
Yeah,
but you can do that with the VeVe's too.
Yeah, you should check out VeVe Comics. VeVe Comics drops day and date. We've just brought on a whole bunch more publishers, like Ablaze, Humanoid, 24/7 Comics. So yeah, there's thousands of comics on there, and they basically drop same day as they are in the shop.
What's really cool about that is I'm an indie comic guy, but I can't get my shop to order certain publishers just simply because I'm the one guy asking for it.
Yeah.
So that really helps me out in that there is a place now where I can go and get those and read those if I want to. And if I like it, I can then order it from the actual publisher, because I'm still going to like Keen Spot, not to plug in shamelessly anybody. I don't get paid by them or anything, but I really like a lot of their stories that they've been doing. But it's hard for me to get my comic shop to order them just simply because I'm that one guy. He's like, it's hard for me to justify ordering just for you. I'm like, okay, I get it, So I end up having to, then go and order it myself. But and that's okay. But also sometimes I miss on stuff, and I'm like, well, if I'd have been able to read that virtually first, that would have saved me, $7 in shipping. So that's really cool that it's a sister app to the VeVe app called VeVe Comics. And y'all, it seemed like y'all have a nice chunk of publishers on there now, not just the big two, with Marvel and DC, but you're actually growing and getting in with the indie comics, which is, to me, it puts a lot of new eyes on indie comics, which like I said before, I'm an indie comic guy, and those will always be like my favorite reads. So we'll check it out. We've got lots of really cool stuff on there. I think the latest one was I think it's Planet Death. That was which was the highest Kickstarter comic released. I think that they raised tons of money. Which one was it? I think it was called Planet Death. Okay, I have to check it out because that's your kind of thing, June 28th, I'm actually interviewing. I'm doing a Kickstarter kickoff on the podcast here for, I think it's an issue 3 of a comic book, and I love helping those guys out. I love when they come on and talk to me about their stuff because, like you, they have that fire and that passion for what it is they're doing. and they're always really fun to have on. So, and it's cool that you just brought up Kickstarter, because that is a great avenue for people.
Yeah, and you know, this day and age, it's it's a lot easier to get comics, you know, created and produced. Obviously, still quite a lot of work, but yeah, and that's why we start to see a lot more sort of indie, you know, these really successful indie publishers coming out.
So we're going to divert. We're going to go back to our Star Wars drop here. Appreciate you entertaining me and talking about some comic books. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries.
So did you notice a different collector behaviors with this drop, like more displayed focus interaction or a greater demand for a full set completion? Like I had brought up earlier, like how cool would it be if you had the whole armor that you could display?
Yeah, I mean, like there's within VeVe, we have a thing called the Master Collector Program, and it's got ranks and points and levels. So if you collect the whole set, like if you get all of the helmets, then you might be able to craft like let's say we drop 4 helmets. If you own all of those, you might be able to craft a 5th helmet, and that there might only be a few hundred of those, so you've got to complete this quickly. But you know, if every collector is different. You know, some people want to go and they just want that character, like they just want Din Djarin, or they just want the Mandalorian, and some people want just to collect everything. So that's one thing I've sort of learned or become much more aware of with VeVe, is that collectors have such a wide breadth of what they actually like. I mean, we have collectors who only collect a certain mint number, like they might only collect 888 edition 888, so they'll collect that with anything. So
I know a guy who collects comic book slabs, 3.5s.
Right.
Like he actively seeks out 3.5s as the grade to buy. And I'm like, dude, for me, it's 9.8s or nothing.
Yeah, but that's exactly what I mean. You know, there's like people just have their own thing that brings them joy.
Everybody has a niche, and I think y'all are like y'all have hit just about all the niches out there to some degree, and you have something for everybody. So that's really cool too. It's not just, you know, these big IPs. Y'all have some smaller IPs, and you have something really. What y'all have created is something for everybody to enjoy, and that's always really dope when a company can do that. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we want to make sure we hit all the collectors, and even like, you know, we also work with a lot of artists as well to release their work. So yeah, I mean, it's just overall very, very exciting.
I've seen y'all had some really nice some big names within the comic book world, but maybe not in the normal world, like some of their covers and stuff in there that are released as posters, which is really cool.
Like Mark Brooks, Scotty Young. I'm a huge Scotty Young fan.
Dude, you and me both. I love his art.
Yeah.
Did you read I Hate Fairyland?
Sorry?
I Hate Fairyland?
Fairyland? I'm not familiar with that one.
It's one of his books. It's really good. He did it with Britt Bean.
Okay, yeah, I'll check that out. But yeah, whenever I go to Comic-Con, I'm always just looking for Scotty Young covers. So I got
a friend. He collects. If Scotty Young does a cover, he owns it.
Yeah.
So his art's so unique. For people, if you don't know who we're talking about, please Google him. His art is very elementary school, I guess is a good way to say it.
Yeah,
but it's
with style.
With style, yes, very much with style. And you almost like, there's certain artists out there, you see their work, you immediately, oh, that's a Scotty Young cover.
Yeah. He's definitely got a quite a unique sort of style that's easily identifiable.
Yeah, and as you collect more stuff like that, you recognize their work. Like, I could just be walking by and be like, oh, that's so-and-so's cover, that's a so-and-so cover, and that's a so-and-so cover. They're like, how do you know? I'm like, just look at the art. How do you not know?
Can't you tell, man?
Like, Peach Momoko is one of my favorite artists, and there's a lot of people who try to imitate her style, but they can't do it. And then there's people like I think it's David Mack, who did Daredevil. He did all the the spray paint and art and stuff you see on the buildings in Daredevil. He did those, and as soon as I seen that first piece of like graffiti, I was like, that's got to be a David Mack. And then sure enough, it was a David Mack. I was like, knew it.
Yeah, no, it's great when an artist has got that very unique, specific style.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I know we're at our allotted hour.
Yep.
Are you hard pressed for that hour?
I am unfortunately hard pressed,
Okay.
so we'll have to wrap up. Even though I always love talking comics and collectibles.
I do too. And I know you're a busy man, being the guys. We're talking to the co-founder of VeVe Collectibles, which is really dope. I'm so happy he got to come on. For everybody at home, tell them where they can find you and VeVe.
Yes. So yeah, if you are interested in exploring this new digital collecting, you can just head over to veve.me, veve.me, and just browse through the collectibles. We've also got thousands of comics if you want to read, or if you're a comic fan. And just explore all the different the brands we've got. Look at all the beautiful 3D collectibles. Try out the AR. It's
really cool. It's really cool. I gave it a shot, and I'm a fan. I'm sold on it. So,
thank you. Well, thanks so much for having me on today, Jeff. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Dan. We appreciate you coming out and talking to us today. With that, everybody, this show will officially release on podcast format next Wednesday. And with that, Dan, welcome to the Council of Nerds. And VeVe Collectibles is USDN approved.
It's a trap!